Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hit the bell, subscribe. We have new content coming out daily. Make sure you subscribe. God bless you guys. The book, super interesting and untenable, the true story of white ethnic flight from America's cities. Yeah, I mean, my grandparents and my great-grandparents moved out of Chicago because of crime. That's how it was always taught to us. But professors say, oh, it's because they were racist. And they didn't want to get murdered. So Jack Cashill is with us. So Jack, in your historical estimation, why is it that blacks have such high, why are the single motherhood rates so great in the black community?
They were somewhat vulnerable as the last immigrant group to come to America, and to come to the cities, I should say. The Italians, the Poles, the Irish had gotten there in the early part of the 20th century. Then they cut off immigration in 1924 from the South and East of Europe. But the black Great Migration continues into the cities. And when they start arriving in the cities, the ethos is changing away from becoming a nation where people are held responsible for their own behavior to one where the social workers, et cetera, are rushing in saying, you're not at fault. It's the system's fault. We can help you. We'll give you food stamps. We'll give you welfare. We'll give you reduced rents. And we'll give you, and Medicaid. The only catch is you can't have a married man in the household. And it was their late arrival into the cities that made them as vulnerable as they were. And it was unfortunate.
So the tailored policy programs by Lyndon Baines Johnson and others were subsidizing single motherhood. Is that a fair way to say it?
That's absolutely right. And it was happening at the same time Hollywood was saying, oh, it's okay to be a single mother. And, we'd see some movie star with a child and it was all hunky-dory. But the net result was, and, it's curious, I've spent a lot of time in Ireland. I'm seeing that they're among their native white populations. They introduce welfare and the culture breaks down. So when some American tourist was nearly killed there the other day, and it was native kids, from fatherless homes. And it's a sure recipe. We had one moment, though, Charlie, where we could have turned the tide. And that came in 2008, Barack Obama. He's running for president. I don't know if you remember this, but he was in Chicago at the Apostolic Church of God outside. And he gives this brilliant Father's Day address. And he's a good father. He sets a good role model. And he says to them, if we're to be honest with ourselves, we have to admit that the real problem in our community is the absence of fathers in the household. Too many men are acting like boys and abandoning their responsibilities. And then he goes through the litany of crises that occur when fatherlessness is omnipresent. 10 times more likely to end up in prison, 12 times more likely to commit crime, 20 times more likely to end up in poverty, et cetera, down the whole list. It was an excellent speech, the kind of speech he should have been giving. He was a candidate then in 2008, Father's Day. Hillary's out of the race. He's moving to the center. Then Jesse Jackson gets picked up on a hot mic 2 weeks later at a Fox News studio, as though Jesse didn't know he was going to be picked up. And there he was. And I will spare your audience exactly what he said, but it was brutal. And it came with a cutting motion. And Barack Obama never said anything about fatherlessness in any serious way again.
And they just cut it off. So, without getting too deep into the motivations, about a minute remaining, why is it that the Democrat Party is at odds with fathers? Is it as Machiavellian as if fathers go back into the homes and they're publicly advocated, the tyrants become less powerful?
Well, the black single females is the single greatest cohort, the most dependable cohort in the party. And they're married to the government now, and they know it. And if that government turns on them and the Democratic Party turns on them, they'll have to rethink everything. Look what they did to Robert Kennedy the other day. They can't. Their best card is the race card, and they'll pull it even on their own.
That's right. And we're going to have you back on, Jack, because you talk about topics that it seems like you don't care when people call you the R word. I tell you, the super weapon that we have against these toxic Marxist movement is just not care when they call you a racist. Just don't care, and all of a sudden they become significantly less powerful. Final thoughts, Jack Cashill.
You were absolutely right about that. I participated in I live in Kansas City, in a debate on reparations, televised debate. They couldn't find a second person to be on my side. They had to look far and wide. And I said, sure, bring it on. I'll take it on, you know.
Yeah, in
You can't get,
Kansas. Yeah, I mean, by the way, I'll join you at any time. That would be really fun. What's hilarious is that 80% of Kansas agrees with you. They can't find a single person because they don't want to be called a racist.